Our conversion rate on our website absolutely tanked earlier this week. Now, what a conversion rate is, just for those of you that don't know, it's the percentage of people that visit your site that actually convert into paying customers. So we generally average between 1.5, 1.6%, all the way up to 3.2%. But the average is 1.7, 1.8. Usually as you scale, so you get more and more traffic, and you reach colder and colder audiences, your conversion rate drops. However, we've been on a really good run over the last little while, but earlier this week, it absolutely collapsed. And if we're not able to get this fully under control, like it could jeopardize the business and how, the business can continue. First things first, we're spending thousands per day on paid ads. So it means that every day that they're not working, that's pure profit, pure money, capital that you're taking out of the business and you're giving to Facebook or Google or whoever's doing your paid ads, right? Or giving you paid traffic. So that's why it does put pressure on you, because you're like, I have to solve this. This is costing me money. Every single hour this is wrong, it's costing me money. Now there's a lot of levers that I could pull or could have pulled to try and sort this, right? And I won't lie, it was not, I found it stressful. I found it stressful to be hemorrhaging money every minute. It's difficult, right? Especially when you're used to like it just working, right? It was just making sales all the time. Not saying they were the most profitable sales, but they were sales and they were profitable and they weren't costing us money. To suddenly actually be losing hundreds, thousands every day. The first thing I did, and the first thing I ran to straight away was okay, did I break something? Is the website working right? So I checked the add to cart. Is that working? I checked, make sure all the pages were working. And when I did all that, I was like, yes, they are working. Okay, so I reversed back and I was like, well, what could have changed? Okay. And I looked at a few things. When I make a change on the website, I like to make one change and then leave it for a couple of days, 1-2 days, to see if it's having any effect, positive or negative, right? And I've since learned something that I want to share with you that actually is very insightful and I didn't realize. But anyway, in this case, we actually made a number of changes at the one time, out of necessity, but nonetheless, it probably impacted on this, right? So a few things happened. Number one, I put on a new add to cart sticky on mobile. So when you land on our page, product page on mobile, at the bottom, there was a button that you could click buy now, right? It was for starting the trial. That worked really well for us. And our average add to cart was around 6%. It went up to about 15%. And add to cart is the first step of becoming a customer. So it's very positive that we see that. That means that translates into more sales. And it does really, because we actually had our best day ever on Saturday. We did about £4,000 on an ordinary day, right? We've had the odd day where we've done quite well, but there was a sale on, it was Black Friday, and we launched a new product, but this was just a normal day, right? So it was unreal, right? We were delighted. Now, I think I know why there was a lot of sales. So when I made some changes and put in that add to cart, a little bit of text about our trial disappeared. And when that text was gone, some people, we do mention in multiple places, didn't realize that the trial price is in fact the first payment. And if you keep the product, you pay a second balance payment after 30 days, right? So people were just converting very easily. And maybe that is why Saturday was a really, really good day. I don't know. We have to wait 30 days after that point to figure that out. And, maybe some people will email us, but we do mention on our packing slips, we mention in a lot of places. But I think that was one thing that really encouraged people to move from browser to buyer. And those pixel fires taught Facebook about, a different type of audience that perhaps would have converted a bit easier because they didn't realize there was a second payment. So that was one thing that happened. I also increased the price. So I increased the price of our product, each of them, by £10 respectively. The reason I did that is because I want to grow our net margin, okay? Our contribution margin as well. And that again is something that can negatively affect conversion rate, and because the product is more expensive, right? Now, the second I realized that text was missing, I basically had to delete the add to cart button at the bottom of the banner because people were missing it. And sales at this point had already kind of collapsed and I'd increased the price. So I deleted the add to cart. And then after a little while, I reversed the sales price increase, right? But at that stage, like we were at 0.4, 0.5% conversion rate, where normally like on a bad day, 1.3, 1.4. Okay. Our MER fell to like 1, which basically meant, or just over 1, which basically meant for every pound or euro you spent on paid advertising, you got a pound or euro back, but not an extra. You just got that back. So it basically meant you were at a loss. You were fulfilling the product, everything at basically like you weren't making any money, right? The only people that made money was Facebook and any of the advertisements platforms, right? So I was literally like, I was nervous. I didn't know what to do, right? But my gut told me there was more to it. So I looked in a little bit more, and sure enough, when we were setting up one of the ads, we set the goal as add to cart, not conversion. So that actually spent about £300 or £400 in a couple of hours. So those signals also to Facebook were like saying, hey, we don't worry about purchase. We only want add to carts. So it again trained the pixel on these other type of customers. So if you remember, we increased the price. We had an add to cart sticky button at the bottom of mobile that didn't really mention fully about the trial, not on purpose, but that's just what it did. And we had the wrong pixel fires for an ad, basically saying here we want add to carts, not purchases. All that together, like the algorithm didn't know what to do. It didn't really know what we were looking for, and it just went a bit out of sync, right? Now, our mentor for Facebook advertising has a great saying, like, figure out what went wrong, right? Figure out what went wrong. And then once you rectify that back to where you want to be, and you're happy with your ads, like you just keep giving it fresh creative, just let go. Let go of the stick. If a plane is crashing, let go of the stick, it'll right itself. If you try and fight it, you will end up making things worse. So we made so many changes. We can't then go into our ads and start messing with them as well. Like it would just become a pure mess. We had to just leave it. So we left it for 3 or 4 days. And I mean, these were nerve-wracking days. Like I'm like, I felt really guilty. I felt like I broke something, right? And eventually today it appears like it has righted itself. Our conversion rate is closer to 2%. But we had to hold fire. We had to hold steady with the spend, right? We didn't reduce the spend. In fact, we actually increased it on some of our traditionally better markets. That is interesting. But also what's interesting is I learned more about when you increase the price of your product, you have to kind of leave it for about 7 days, because it takes Facebook that amount of time to find like an audience that's happy to pay that extra money. Sometimes when you increase the price, you're not necessarily changing audience, but sometimes when you increase the price, person that buys the product at price B instead of price A, they're different. And it takes Facebook about 10 times to find kind of like a pool of buyers that's willing to pay that extra money. The original buyers weren't, or maybe are not. So again, you have to kind of leave your price for 7 days. So if you see a decrease after making in conversion and great overall performance immediately after making a price change, you have to do nothing. You have to just leave it. You have to leave it. So my learnings from the past few days is, again, it reinforces make one change at a time on your paid ads and your site and all that kind of stuff. You're running paid traffic or doing anything, just one change and leave it. And before you can really know whether a test is working or not, you kind of have to leave something for maybe a week. Maybe sometimes there's like a huge change structurally in the site and just conversion just completely collapses. You're like, okay, that has not worked. But sometimes if it's a very subtle difference, like you just leave it and let it iron out, let it smooth out. It's not easy. It's hard. But the thing I suppose that I took from all this is there was buyers before. The product has not changed. The offer now has not changed. The site has not changed. It will return to what its baseline is because the world has not changed, primarily. Will this stop me making changes in the future and improving things? No, but I'm a bit more prepared about what could happen. I'm redesigning the add to cart because that really did work well. That achieved our goals, but I'm doing it in a way that it still explains the trial. So we should see a subtle difference. We should see an improvement, on mobile, but not people getting confused about what the trial means. I think that's important. So yeah, if you're running paid ads, no, you're not alone. Sometimes you just have to leave it and let it just figure itself out. but just be aware of the changes you're making and keep a log so you can always revert back if you need to. All right. Guys, if you've enjoyed this, just hit subscribe. And if you have any questions, let me know.